you. I'm your host, Joe Trahan. Unfortunately, we can't have the entire crew in studio to talk you through that disappointing Cowboys loss, but joining me virtually, there they are, our esteemed colleagues from WFAA, Mark Istook, Rebecca Lopez, and of course, former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith. We will get to you guys in just a second, folks, but I want to hear from you at home. Our call-in number is 214-977-6740. We'd also like to hear from you on our megaphone questions. The first one's very simple. Should the Cowboys have gone for it on 4th and 3 with just a little bit less than 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter? You could open the WFAA app and click on the Vote Now tile or go to WFAA.com/vote now. It's 2020, so we should have known the Cowboys season opener would have been nothing like we expected. So here's the overarching topics we'll cover in the next about half hour to 45 minutes on WFAA's Facebook page. Of course, Mike McCarthy's controversial decision to go for it on 4th and 3. Dak and the offense, great at times, meh at others. And the Cowboys' defensive issues. We will cover all that plus anything else you might want to bring up. But let's get back to our panel right now. And I just need your first blush reaction, you guys, after watching the Cowboys lose the way they did, disappointing yet again. Coach, your first up, overarching thought after the loss.
Well, you kicked the field goal right there and tied the game up, to crying out loud. You know what? You didn't have preseason. You should have been, it should have been blown out early in the game. Kick the field goal and tie the game up.
Rebecca, what about you?
I thought Jason Garrett was still coaching the team. That looked like the same team from last year. It looks like a mediocre 8-8 team, the way they played. Looks like we're in for a disappointing season. I mean, I know it's just one game, but that's what it looked like to me.
And Mark?
Boy, pump the brakes. I mean, it's one game with a new head coach, a bunch of new guys on offense and defense that did not have any preseason games to work out the kinks. It's one game. Let's see how they play against Atlanta in week 2.
See, Mark, I knew I liked Mark from the first time he got here. That's it, Mark, right? I'm not going to overreact after 1 week. I've been doing this NFL thing for far too long. The beginning of the season will be nothing like the end of it. I will say this, though. With that new Mike McCarthy offense, you got to score more than 3 points in the second half. That will be absolutely important if they want to win games moving forward. Let's get right to your calls. We're going to do a better job getting to your calls this season. That is my promise to you, and I will keep it up. And first up is Jim in Gainesville. Hey, Jim, what'd you think about the 4th and 3 call late in the game? And we're off and running. Jim in Gainesville, are you there?
You have got to tie the game up at that point with that much time left on the clock. But it's like Yogi Berra used to say, deja vu all over again. I mean, bad calls by the coach, bad calls by the refs. That I don't know if the Cowboys would have won the game, but if that was a very bogus call on that pass interference, and hopefully they would have tied it up and they would at least had a shot at it. But they've got a lot of work to do. I mean, there was a lot of bright spots, but there's a lot of same old there.
All right,
it's bad, but it's good to see y'all again, and hopefully the Cowboys will get after it this coming weekend.
Hey, Jim in Gainesville.
Thank you for letting me on.
Jim in Gainesville, we appreciate you. Jim might be our MVP caller. He's always on the line. We'll look to hear from you all season. And Jim, you're right. There were some things that were the same. We'll get to the pass interference, but I want to stick with 4th and 3, and I want to bring it back to you guys. Mark, let's just talk about the play call, not the result, just the play call. Did you like it?
I like the call to go for it. I don't like the play that was called. I think it's too easy to act like those are the same decisions, and it's not. I would like to see a different play called if you're going to go for it at that part of the field.
Rebecca?
Well, you've been behind all game. You could have tied the game. I think it would have been a morale booster. I think that they should have kicked the field goal and tied the game.
Coach?
You got to kick the field goal right there. You got to tie the football game. You should have been behind more than you were. Kick the field goal right there, tie the game, and let's live to fight another few downs.
Generally, I love the aggressive nature of that call.
One field goal in the game already. There's no guarantee you tie it with you go for it. Just saying.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I think it was a chip shot. Now, I do like the aggressive nature overall. However, you got to read the game. The Cowboys have been swimming upstream all game. Getting that game tied, changing the footing of it could have made a big difference. All right, let's go to another call. See, we're getting to more calls this year. I promised, and I'm going to do it. I promised. All right, Alan in Arlington, what do you think about the Cowboys and that opening game?
Did you say Alan?
Yes, Alan, you're up, my friend.
Yes. My statement today has nothing to do with the call. It has to do with the Cowboys need to be saying because they didn't even take a knee or link arms to show unity about the movement that's going on. And they'll continue to lose as long as they have that mentality.
Okay, Alan, let me clean it up for you just a little bit there. Let's make sure that we're factual. Dontari Poe, Cowboys defensive lineman, he did take a knee. He was the only Cowboy who took a knee. In fact, he's the only Cowboy who's ever taken a knee during the national anthem. And he was, in fact, supported by Antoine Woods, who had his hand on his shoulder, as well as Leon Lett, his position coach. So there was some support there. There was a protest against racial injustice from Dontari Poe. In fact, it was Zeke Elliott who said he expected some Cowboys would take a knee, and Dontari Poe was that lone Cowboy who made that decision. But Elliott and all the Cowboys have made sure that they understood and made the fans understand that they would support all of their teammates no matter what happens. Sandy in Rowlett, she wants to talk about taking a knee as well. Sandy, your thoughts? Hey, Sandy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, great. What are your thoughts about taking the knee?
Well, I think as most of the Cowboys, the only time they could take a knee was when the coach took a knee. I think as men, and all through all the stuff that's going through now, I think the men should take a knee.
All right, thanks so much for your thoughts. We got a little feedback there, so we're going to let you go, Sandy, but we appreciate that. Rebecca, what did you think about the gesture from Dontari Poe?
Well, I think that you have to leave it up to each individual player. You have to go with your heart and what you're feeling. I'm not going to take a position one way or the other, but I just believe that you have to do what you feel is right for you.
Mark?
I think it was respectful. I think all the guys were respectful, and I think as long as that's the case, there'll be folks that are polarized on both sides of the issue. I'm glad to see that somebody, though, kind of broke the barrier. First Cowboy to do it.
Coach, what'd you think?
Well, you got to do what you got to do in those situations, and if you felt like that was the right thing to do, you needed to take a knee, then you know what, good for him, and we'll see how it goes the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'll just make this one comment. I don't want to make it a political issue. I want to make it a human rights issue. And Dontari Poe was trying to get better human rights for some people who feel marginalized. And using that platform when he doesn't have to means something to me. And I'll leave it at that. Next up, Ariel. We're going to get back to football and talk about 4th and 3. Is it Ariel? Am I saying that name right?
It's Ariel.
Ariel. All right. What'd you think about 4th and 3 from the Cowboys?
In my opinion, they should have gone for it, but then again, they should have went with the field goal, tie the game up, and it could have been a better perspective as later on in the game when that pass interference call happened.
Okay, so the bottom line is you think they should have kicked the field goal?
Yes, so it could have gave us a better chance of actually not rushing to score another touchdown or score another field goal. Give us a little more time. All
right. Thanks, Ariel. I appreciate the call. It's so 2020, right? It's never what you expected it would be. For so long in this town, we have our heads have exploded about the conservative nature of the head coach. And then you get a call that may have dictated a conservative call. This new coach goes aggressive. And here we go again. It's the Cowboys, you guys. They always bring us that controversy. They always make it interesting for us. So we really shouldn't be surprised at that. All right. Let's check in on that megaphone now, and for my folks in the control room, yeah, there it is. Should the Cowboys have kicked the field goal on 4th and 3? Yes, an overwhelming 91% of you say that they absolutely should have gone for it, and yeah, I tend to agree, but there's going to be a time in this season, I promise you, when the aggressive nature of Mike McCarthy will make you say, I like my coach doing it that way. All right, you guys, stick and stay. They're going to be back with more. We're going to have more coming up, talking about that Cowboys offense after the break. But we want you to stay with us on WFAA Facebook because we're going to keep the conversation going there, and we will be back in just a minute. Cowboys lose game 1. All right, you guys, so if we want to keep by the way, my producer just said great first segment, and he's right. All right, which camera are we on for Facebook? This is the first time we're doing it this year, you guys, so I got to figure it out as we go. Facebook anywhere? Which one? 6, 7? Can I get my crew back for Facebook? See, you guys, we're really pulling the curtain back for you on Facebook. You're getting to see the whole thing. Okay. No worries. No worries. Hey, there they are. We on 7 for Facebook? All right, cool. All right, so you guys, I'm curious. Mark, I didn't mind the play call, except for the fact that on 4th and 3, you got to make sure you tell the rookie to run the route deep enough, because if he gets just a little more depth, I think they make it, you know? I really do. Would you know? Yeah, Coach, what would your coaching point be for CeeDee Lamb on that play?
30 seconds.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, we're going to be back here in about 15 seconds, so thanks for hanging with us on Facebook. All right, you guys, I'm going to start with the megaphone, right? All right, you guys, welcome back to the Cowboys Call-In Show. Joe Trahan with you. We got a great panel. Cowboys Stretch, former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith, Rebecca Lopez, Mark Istuk. And we also want to hear from you. We want to hear your calls. Our call screen has lit up. We appreciate that. 214-977-6740 is the number to call in if you want to talk about that Cowboys loss, the season opening loss against the Rams. We also have a megaphone question for you. And this one is interesting because I'm curious. What concerns you more, Dak and the offense, the defense, or coaching? And we're going to kind of work through all of those topics as we continue on the show. And let's start with Dak and that offense. It was interesting to me, you guys, because I think there were some really high points for that Cowboys offense when I sat back, especially in that 2-minute drive at the end of the first half, and said, whoa, okay, that looks more like the Ferrari they should be with all those weapons. But then the second half was an absolute dud. Rebecca, I'll start with you. What stuck out most from that Cowboys offense for you?
Well, I thought Zeke played a great game, but I think the offensive line needs help. I mean, those dumb penalties that they keep getting is hurting our drives. It's terrible. And Dak, if you want $40 million a year, you got to make some big plays. You got to make those big plays to make this game and to get a victory.
Coach?
To me, guys, they got to throw the ball down the field. This is a receiving core that is fast, that can run. They use the first pick to get it. Throw the ball deep, for crying out loud. Take some deep shots.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen some deep shots as well. For me, especially in the first half, it seemed like the Rams were really winning on first down, picking up big chunk yardage plays, and that was setting them up on second and third down. It seemed like Dallas was playing behind the 8 ball, and I think that was also due to the fact that their defense was on the field. Cowboys defense was on the field for so much of that first half. Hard to get into an offensive rhythm.
Yeah, the one thing I'll take away from this is when the Cowboys got in tempo offensively and got up on the ball and called plays and made it quick and made it fast, it felt like Dak Prescott got into a good rhythm and that offense was working. But at other times, it was kind of stilted. It was kind of tough. Now, I do think that the great Aaron Donald of the Rams had a lot to do with that. But also, I think there's some kinks that need to be worked out. All right, let's get more of your calls. Let's go to Kenneth in Mesquite right now. What'd you think about that Cowboys offense, Kenneth?
Well, I just think that the play calling, it must be turned over to Mike McCarthy. I mean, because they got too many weapons on the offensive side to just score 17 points. So I just really believe that Mike McCarthy must run the offense.
Wow. So yeah, wow. So Kellen Moore just gets 1 week and that's it, right? 1 week under this new offense. He doesn't get any time to kind of get ramped up. Is that what you're telling me? All right, Kenneth is gone. Let's go straight to Lewis in Saxe. Lewis, what'd you think about that Cowboys offense?
I think we need a lot of help with the Cowboys offense, or defense, excuse me, as well as the offense. Number one, I don't think Dak is going to be worth the $40 million that he's trying to get. I don't see him as a quarterback that can throw those long passes. If you notice, all the passes that he ever had were little short passes that gained into more yards after that. So I don't see Dak Prescott being a $40 million quarterback a year at all. And by the way, if I may add one thing, is I think that Cowboy fans are getting a little bit tired of hearing the same thing year after year, how great of a team we are, and we come back and we fail miserably every year.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, Dak Prescott statistically was the best deep ball passer in the NFL last year. So I think there's a lot of perception versus reality when it comes to Dak. We didn't lose that game yesterday because of Dak Prescott. There were a lot of fingers you can point. Maybe you can point one at him, but you can point him at a lot of other places as well.
Yeah, it goes in that category of don't believe your lying eyes, right? There's the one deep over route for 33 yards to CeeDee Lamb. That was the longest play of the game. There was no other play that the Cowboys had that was more than 20 yards. Obviously, you have to get strikes down the field and chunk plays to be more efficient on offense. However, I'll go back to that Aaron Donald dude. Did you see the videos that I saw on Twitter when he absolutely ragdolled Zeke Elliott? And then the other video that just blew my mind was when he pushes Joe Looney, the Cowboys center, and then Joe Looney knocks over Zach Martin, perhaps one of the best, if not the best, offensive lineman in the NFL. Aaron Donald is that dude, and he absolutely wrecked the pocket for Dak Prescott. It was very interesting. I saw a lot of people saying Dak Prescott is not a pocket passer. There wasn't a pocket yesterday thanks to Aaron Donald. Let's just not forget that. I want to make that clear. All right, up next, we want to go to Evelyn in Fort Worth. Evelyn, what'd you think about that?
I think that you just need to give the coach some time. He just needs some time to get. Sorry about that. Well, he just needs to have time to get everything adjusted, and they'll be all right. Just give him some time. It's one game. I mean, just one game. Let them play.
Evelyn, I just want to stop the show down for 5 seconds and say thank you for being the voice of reason. We don't often get that from callers, but today Evelyn shows up as the voice of reason, and we love you for it, Evelyn. Thanks so much for calling in. I mean, come on, it's 1 week, Coach. Was Rome built in a day? What are we doing here?
No, it's 1 week, but there were some things that were really concerning for me in this football game. And we talked about offensively, I think defensively, there's some things that they got to clean up. But no question, it's 1 week. You got 15 more games, and the Cowboys should win the NFC East. I'll go on record to say that, but they also had, the game was there to be won, and we get paid to get on here and talk about the fact they should have won the game. That's the bottom line.
I won't argue with you there, Coach. They should have won the game. They had multiple opportunities to win the game. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater just yet. All right, let's check on our megaphone here. What concerns you more, Dak in the offense, the defense, or coaching? Right now, the defense. 58% of you are concerned with that defense, and because you are, that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment, the Cowboys' defensive issues. Is it time to call Earl Thomas? That's coming up next. Stick with us here on the Cowboys Call-In Show, and stay with us as well on Facebook. Yeah, I'm listening. Okay. No worries. I was just wondering if we're up on Facebook or no. Do y'all feel like y'all are getting to talk enough? Mark, Rebecca? Hey, Mark and Rebecca, y'all feel like y'all getting to talk enough? Y'all good? Mark, you good? Coach, you good? Like what? I'm sorry, Rebecca. Oh, yeah. I mean, we can do it. I mean, there's just a... Okay.
1 minute.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I think you guys can try and talk to each other if you direct it. I mean, The only, Mark, I think you have about a 2-second delay. The other delays are only about a second. I mean, if y'all want to go across, I mean, I don't mind laying out. I'm just trying to help say the names so that the delay doesn't screw us up.
30 seconds.
Yeah, no doubt.
Stand by. Coming up to 7.
Welcome back to the Cowboys Call-In Show. Yours truly, Joe Trahan, along with Rebecca Lopez, Mark Istook, and Glenn Stretch Smith. Now let's turn our attention to that defense. If you can stand it, it was a rough outing. They give up 422 total yards, 275 yards through the air for Rams quarterback Jared Goff. And there were times when it felt as though that defense, especially the secondary, just couldn't stop anything. In fact, I think the Rams just ran another screen pass and gained another 19 yards because it happened all night, so it's continuing to happen. Coach, your head had to be exploding.
Well, yeah, it felt like the first quarter and a half of football. They had never seen a boot. They'd never seen a waggle. They'd never seen a screen. The thing that's more concerning to me, though, guys, was the defensive tackles getting rolled off the football. I mean, that when you know they're running the football and they run it at will at you and pick up 7 yards, that's more concerning to me.
All right, Mark and Rebecca, I'm going to get to you in just a second, but let's go to Gregory in Dallas. Gregory, why didn't you like that defense?
It seemed like the offensive line was just blowing them off the line. There was no stunts and no blitzes until the third quarter. It just looked like they wasn't hungry. They was getting blown right off the line. And is their offensive line that better than Dallas?
Well, I will say this, and I think you bring up a great point, because I do think that the Cowboys' defensive line looked off balance, as the entire defense did, to be honest. And I think a lot of it had to do with all the misdirection that the Rams were throwing at them. I'm not sure why they didn't see that coming. I don't know that that's a big departure from Sean McVay. That's been part of his MO the entire time. The lack of a training camp may have, played into that, but I think overall they should have expected that, and they should have been ready for that, and they weren't. I hope it's just COVID, you guys. I hope it's just that you got to get your sea legs under you. I think that's part of it. Again, I'm not going to overreact about this whole thing, but Mark, what'd you think about that defense early on?
I agree with you, Joe. It felt like it just maybe hadn't found the rhythm yet. You see some guys who flashed some potential, but a lot of situations where guys felt out of positions. And I had to remind people, look, this is a Rams team that did this to a lot of teams, not so much in 2019, definitely in 2018. This is their bread and butter. I am curious because, of course, a lot of attention has been on Trevon Diggs, hoping to shore up his cornerback spot. I want to see if Coach saw anything that he liked or didn't like from the rookie in that position.
Well, he was there on the deep ball late in the third quarter, and he didn't make a play. I thought he came up and made a big tackle late in the game that caused a punt. But I think the more concerning thing for me, other than Diggs, is the safety play, guys. I mean, there were twice that safeties had to go out and cover tight ends. When you have to cover a tight end, you can't get beat inside, and they were beat inside twice. So
all right, great. Thanks, Coach.
I think Louisier will be fine. I'm still good at safety.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. We want to squeeze in another caller here. Thomas in Louisville. You got a good question, I think, for the whole group. What's your question? What's your worry?
My worry is we don't have a leader. Dak Prescott is not a leader. When you look back when we had Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, those guys took control of the team. They stepped up to the plate. They were held accountable for the wins and the losses. If Dak wants his $40 million plus, be a leader.
Thomas, I appreciate your call, but let me stress to you how wrong you are, my friend. I do it humbly. I do it respectfully. Dak Prescott, if nothing else, is one of the best leaders in that locker room. This young man, in fact, studied leadership when he was in college to try and become a better leader, and he is that. He has the respect of his teammates. He came out and mentioned the fact that he's been going through depression, furthering the fact that he could be a leader. So I'm sorry, I do not agree with you there. Now, do I have issues with the way he plays? Sometimes hitting some of those deep balls, as Coach will tell you, is he always the most accurate guy? Perhaps not, but on leadership terms, I have no issues with Dak Prescott. All right, we got no issues with all your calls and everything. We appreciate you joining in. We are not done yet. The final word on the Cowboys in Week 1 coming your way next. Sorry, you guys had to do that. Oh, okay, good. That way, okay, good. 30 seconds. So when we go to black here, does that mean we're in black for the Facebook page, or are we still up on the Facebook page now? Okay. I got you. 30. 30 away. Yep. I promised we'd get more calls in, and we did, so much so that we're out of time now. So I'd like to thank Glenn Stretch Smith, Rebecca Lopez, of course, Mark Istuk. You can hear more from them. We're about to switch over to our Facebook page, so more thoughts from our panel. But we'd like to thank you for being here on the first week of the Cowboys Call-In Show. We'll see you next week after the Cowboys take on those dirty birds, the Atlanta Falcons. We'll let you know if the Cowboys can get win 1 on this season. We'll see you then. And back up on Facebook. Back up on Facebook. They're going to go away if it's in black. Back up on Facebook. All right, we're back up on Facebook, you guys, I think. All right, good. We're going to go quad box for Facebook now? Cool. All right, you guys, that was a great first show. I think you guys saw I was trying to get as many calls in as I possibly could. So I know we couldn't hear from you guys as much as we wanted. So we got a little more time here to do so. Let's start with this. Rebecca, when you looked at the offense, you mentioned Zeke Elliott and how well he played, but what more would you like to see from the offense?
Well, I want Dak to step up to the plate. I mean, I know that you guys, I see his stats, but when it comes to the big plays, when you need him, I just don't feel like he's there all the time. And I just think that we need more out of Dak. And we definitely need more out of that offensive line. And I'm scared now because Jarwin is out. What happens at the tight end position? I don't know how long he's going to be out, but I'm worried about the offensive line in that respect.
I will say this. I think the offensive line is going to be a big issue. You had Steele, the rookie, starting out of nowhere. Then Cam Irving gets hurt. As I said, Aaron Donald just wrecked the game. Cowboys were only 3 of 12 on third down, 25%. Dak's third down passing numbers were horrendous. I think he was like 1 of 7 for like 14.3%. So problematic there. I don't know if Will McClay and Stephen Jones have to do something in a hurry for that offensive line because Lyle Collins is going to be out for a few weeks. So I mean they have serious issues there. I think they can do more to help when you don't have that game wrecker like Aaron Donald. Am I right there, Coach? Or are they still going to struggle?
No, yeah, Joe. When you have a guy that you've got to constantly be turning the protection to, double teaming, giving him some help, making sure the back hits him on the way out. There's so many things and so many issues that he causes from a protection standpoint. But from an offensive standpoint, to me, the more concerning thing is pushing the ball down the field. I mean, they drafted CeeDee Lamb for a reason. And I know with the West Coast offense, you've always got shallow crossers coming instead of making hot reads. And I know they'll get better with the mesh of doing all that and when I say the mesh, the shallow crossers, being able to do those kind of things. But to me, it's more about pushing the ball down the field and making sure you get some deep shots with what should be the strength of your football team, which is the speed at wideout.
Yeah, what was your takeaway, Mark? Just kind of the overriding takeaway.
I mean, it felt a little bit like same song, second verse. If you're a Cowboys fan and you've been frustrated over the years by a team that flashes some potential and falls short, it felt like yet again the team flashed some potential and fell short. But again, for me, it's a longer leash because of the first game, so much turnover, and the fact that you didn't get any preseason games to work out the kinks. So again, for me, it's just an incomplete. Would have loved to see a win. I think they should have won that football game, but it felt like just kept shooting themselves in the foot. I am curious. We haven't talked yet about that offensive pass interference call late in the game that Jalen Ramsey picked up. I'm somebody who, when I saw that happen in real time, I expected a flag to get thrown. I'm curious what the rest of the panel thinks.
Coach?
Well, I think anytime guys are hand fighting going down the field, that's part of what you're doing. I mean, think about what's done in individual drills. And the first thing that you see is the guys working on footwork and working on their hands to knock their hands down, to make sure that they're not grabbing, to make sure that they don't tug on that claw. So as long as the arm doesn't get all the way extended to where you're really feeling like you're pushing off, which you're not running at full speed if you've got your arm all the way extended anyway. So I just thought it was hand fighting. I thought it was a ticky-tack calling. Quite frankly, I thought they'd let them play on that. I mean, you didn't see a real sloppy football game from holding calls. There were some times that they jumped off sides and they got that worked out. But at a critical time in the game when they let them play for the whole game, I thought it was a poorly timed call. And I didn't agree with the call because the arm wasn't extended.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I've seen so much worse that has not been called. And I feel like hand fighting has become what they don't call. Now, his hand was up high on the shoulder pad, but then there was some hand fighting from Ramsey who initiated the contact. I heard on First Take today they're saying that they thought that Gallup initiated the contact. And I'm like, no, look at the entire play. It was Ramsey who starts it, and then, they caught the response, right? They caught the second guy. But I will say this, ask yourself this question. If it was Cooper Kupp and Chidobe Awuzie, does that flag ever come out? I submit to you, not in a million years. Just saying.
Well, Joe, you won't get any disagreement with me. All I'm saying is when you've got guys, and here's what I saw in the film, is I saw him being the receiver get even. Gallup got even with him. And when he was even, he almost started to be leaving him. And then there was some hand fighting going on right there. So even, leaving, heaving, those are situations you want to be in, and you want to try to get in a lot more of those situations, from a Cowboy offensive perspective.
Yeah, one of my favorite football sayings. If he's even, he's leaving, and you're heaving. It's the best. It's the best. I think the other thing that we have to talk about, you guys, before we get out of here, is the overall injury situation. Because I think part of the reason that offense started to sputter was Blake Jarwin was going to be that glue guy who held that offense together. He was going to be a chain mover. He's also so good with run after the catch. He was going to be that guy. And all of a sudden, when he was gone, Dax Wubby was gone as well, right? Because I think the way this whole thing was set up with that three-headed monster of wideouts, Jarwin was going to make hay, and it didn't happen. And what's going on with our camera here? Yeah, here I am. Oh, and Rebecca's back. I thought we had lost you, Rebecca. I thought you were gone.
Yeah. And y'all were talking about the pass interference call, and I didn't think it was an egregious penalty, but I did think that once you extend that arm, they're going to call that every time. I heard them talking to the refs, and they were basically saying that.
Hold on, Rebecca. Let me stop you. Let me stop you. Hold on. One second. Because everybody keeps saying that. I heard it on First Take as well. Yeah. The former ref who was on the broadcast said he wouldn't call it. So I just want to throw that in there. Of course, the refs who are working now say they're going to call it in that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it was egregious. I mean, it could have gone either way, but the arm was extended, and I unfortunate for us.
So let's talk about Leighton Vander Esch. We haven't talked about his injury and what that means to the defense. Coach, when that guy in the middle gets hurt, Jalen Smith just looked okay. When you don't have those guys working in tandem, what do you think that impact becomes on that Cowboys defense?
Well, I think it's huge, and I think I go back to how they've coached those interior guys. They've got, the guys on the interior, Joe, I made the call to you last night. They're more squared stance. They've squared those guys up in order to, and I'm talking about the two defensive tackles, in order to be able to allow Leighton Vander Esch as the Mike linebacker, which they moved him inside to be the Mike, to have that free run. And so when you got two squared tackles, defensive tackles inside, and you're allowing that Mike linebacker to run, that's almost designed. Those three guys are designed for one guy, which is Vander Esch. And for him to break his collarbone and be gone, that to me, that's significant. And then, guys, year after year, this is the second year we're talking about an above, a neck or above issue with Vander Esch. It's starting to have a real feel for it. And he had that knock coming out of Boise State that he had issues with his neck. So I thought they had fixed it. Now you've got another issue with the collarbone, and something that we know with Romo. And again, that was a quarterback, Romo being a quarterback and breaking his collarbone. Now you got a guy who leads with his nose and has to go stick it up in there. That's pretty alarming. And I think it's something that the Cowboys are going to have to address from a personnel standpoint.
Mark, what's your take on LVE?
No, I everything that Coach just said, I agree with those concerns. Anytime you start to get high up in the body like that, it makes you fearful for the player, especially because here's a guy who's battled through these injuries, and these are the kind of injuries that stay with you long after you've been playing ball. So I hope he's able to heal as quickly and get right. But again, that's the situation where that you got to target a guy in the draft or in free agency that can hold that position down and stay healthy. I did feel like Jalen Smith, there were a lot of times he just felt out of position or over pursued, and against the Rams they thrive on that, on trying to get you to do just that so they can find those cutback lanes and exploit it. And it seemed like he got the short end of the stick a lot of times last night.
Yeah, the LVE issue is interesting to me as well, because dealing with the cervical spinal stenosis like he was, he did a lot of work to try and further strengthen his neck. And then the clavicle goes. I mean, you worry about overcompensation with other parts of the body. I don't know if that's part of the issue, but I was like, how snake bit can you be, right? Because, this kid, he worked so hard. And they kept Sean Lee around as an insurance policy, and Sean's not healthy either. God love Joe Thomas. Came in and got some pressure, and he's another good insurance policy, but it should be really concerning for the Cowboys Nation, because that defense that's been retooled and revamped, and you thought that, well, maybe they put a few pieces together and they certainly are better up front and it would work, and you could get pressure on them up front, and that could make the other guys around them better. And it just didn't feel like that, and it feels like that's going to be a lot tougher to make happen now that LV is out. I mean, it's awful for that whole unit. But let's stick with that unit, because I do want to talk about the secondary. And Trayvon Diggs, I thought that was a great question you asked, Mark, about the rookie. I thought those were the two best throws from Goff all night that beat Diggs. I had no fault on either of the key plays that came against him. Just fantastic throws. So I'm not as much worried about the rookie, but there's some other guys on that secondary. Coach, I mean, the safety position, the other corners. I mean, how is that going to work?
Yeah, the nickel corner and Brown, who we felt like was chasing all night.
Oh.
It's a secondary, guys, that we have gone over and over about, and I'm really concerned secondary wise. Now, we've kicked around Earl Thomas's name for 2 years, Joe, and I mean, at some point, you've either got to get in the boat and take a look at him, and he's going to gamble. I mean, that's a given. Earl Thomas is a gambler. He's going to gamble, and he's going to get you beat some. And I think you have to kind of decide as a defensive staff, is that something that you're willing to live with, is him gambling? Because I'm going to tell you this, that ball that was batted in the air last night and set in the air, and I believe it was Diggs that almost intercepted it.
Should have got it.
I'm telling you, Earl Thomas would have come flying out of there, yanked that thing out of the air, and been going the other way. Now, but do you want to live with the possibility of him taking some gambles in critical situations? And I think those are the things that I'm sure that they're talking about right now. I tell you the one thing though, Joe, before we go and before we start carrying on with the secondary, did you expect that out of Aldon Smith? Did anybody expect a guy who'd been out of the league that long to have that kind of an impact? That was a positive. And then the last thing I'll say is, how about putting Woods back there at fullback? Antoine Woods went in there and hammered that Mike linebacker on that touchdown.
Yeah, that was a nice refrigerator Perry throwback. I was loving that. That brought a big smile. But yeah, I mean, that's I'll leave the secondary discussion this way. It felt like death by 1,000 cuts. And that's never fun. And I don't know how that's going to change. But yeah, let's talk more about Aldon Smith, because I mean, that could end up being one of the feel-good stories in the entire league, not just on the Dallas Cowboys. What'd you think about it, Rebecca?
Well, I mean, after 5 years and not playing, I thought that was remarkable. I thought he had a great game, and I thought he was the one positive thing that was happening with defense. And going back to the secondary, as I said at the beginning, they just look like terrible out there. I mean, I don't know the X's and O's like you guys do, but just from a fan's perspective, watching, it just looked like they were getting beat on every play, even simple plays. They were just getting beat. And they just look terrible. So all the way around, the linebacker position, the secondary. But I did think that Smith had a good game, and I didn't expect that from him either, especially after being out 5 years. It's incredible.
The thing I really like about the Aldon Smith story, and I'm glad they brought it out on TV last night, is the grandma element. Grandma pulled that young man aside and said, "You are wasting a gift from God. Get your crap together." And he has. And he is a physical freak, you guys. Because remember, it felt like, when he first came out, he was this long, lean, DeMarcus Ware type, Gumby bender who could get around the corner and just wreak havoc. And now, he's still got some of that quickness, but he is a hammer as well. I mean, he is just, it's amazing, and I can't wait. That's one of the stories I'm looking forward to following further, and hopefully I'm going to try and track down Grandma and get her take, because she can give inspiration for all of us in this COVID issue, apparently, right? I'd love to hear what Grandma has to say about all of us keeping it together in all these trials and tribulations we're going through. I'll tell you that much. All right, you guys, we've been going for about 45 minutes, so I'm going to close it, but I want to hear your final thoughts before we go. Mark, let's start with you. Final thoughts about week one.
let's get to week 2. I feel like I'm not sure how good this Rams team is. You know, you give a guy like Sean McVay a chance to prepare for a coaching staff that's new and inexperienced. I'm not sure how much of this game was the Rams executing and the Cowboys not. But it felt like the opportunities were there. They've got to capitalize them on both sides of the football. So I'd be curious to see what happens this week if they clean some stuff up and should get a W against a less than stellar Falcons team.
Rebecca?
Well, the good thing is the Philadelphia Eagles are terrible. And when everybody says, well, look, it's just week 1 and you got to give him time. I mean, look at what Ron Rivera did. The man's going through cancer treatments. He had to take a treatment in the middle of halftime. He came back. He came back from a 17-point deficit. I know they're not the same teams. The Rams are not the Philadelphia Eagles, but what Ron Rivera did, it scares me a little bit because he's a great coach and he's motivating that team. And I think that that's what Dallas needs. They need the fire like that, the fire that the Washington team has now.
The Washington Generics, as I will be calling them all
the Generics.
season.
I don't even know what to call them.
No, I'm just calling them the Generics. That will be their nickname for me all year. Coach, what's your final take?
Well, it felt like a preseason game. I mean, it almost felt like week 3 of the preseason for me. I mean, a team that went out and played a half of football. Unfortunately, it was the second half that they played defensively. They played okay and offensively, but I think you got to get some things straightened out. I'm looking forward to week 2. I think this is a team that's going to continue to get better, and you know what, Joe? They should win the East. I mean, barring what you don't think you're going to see from New York tonight, I think the Cowboys, have got to be the favorite to win the East, but they got to get some things cleaned up, and the secondary is the number 1 issue.
Yeah, my final take is this. I expected so much from that offense, and you guys, I felt like I just got teased. At the end of the half, when they put that together, I was like, all right, here we go. Finally, someone has cracked the code and they could use this, this great talent. And then we can see Dak at his best. And, because look, I cheer for that young man because of all he's been through. I've been to his hometown. So, I've met friends who knew, the brother who tragically took his life. I've talked to all those people, right? So I'm pulling for that young man. And I thought, oh my God, they found a coach to get the best out of him. And then the second half happened, and it looked awful. Yeah. So I don't know how much of that is because it was a glorified preseason game, and how much of it is more issues. We'll see coming up, but hopefully that offense can be better, and hopefully the Cowboys can reach their potential. And I think we'll close it with that because you guys always reach your potential. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Okay. All right. See you, Facebook. Thanks for hanging with us.
See you, everybody.
All right. Later. Peace.
Bye.